The Ghazi-Arbat district of Kunar province, which is to the east on the Pakistan border, is a valley area where reports of Taliban activity had come through. The local governor says that he believes 64 people were killed in the attack. Now, ISAF put out a report saying they believe they'd killed 30 Taliban fighters, which could mean that many civilians were also caught up in this attack. And an investigation has been launched into how many of those dead were indeed civilians. The governor's also told us that many of those who were injured in the operation and taken to the capital hospital were women and children. Now, the attack comes just a day after the Taliban launched a separate attack in the neighbouring province of Nangarhar in Jalalabad. The attack was on the Kabul bank by 7 suicide bombers. 2 who managed to detonate their vests, 5 were killed before they could do so. The bank at the time was full of government employees, local police collecting their wages. So far, we're told that 40 were killed and another 70 people were injured.
We know the former head of Afghanistan's intelligence agency is casting doubt over Karzai's plans to bring about any kind of stability in the country. He spoke to us here at AlJazeera, Amrullah Saleh, and he says Hamid Karzai is making secret deals with the Taliban. Zaina Hoda has that story.
He fought the Taliban when he was the head of Afghanistan's intelligence agency for 6 years. He is still fighting the movement even after leaving office. But now it is on the political front. Amrullah Saleh has begun what he calls a grassroots movement. The former spy chief is reaching out, not only to those in his community, the Tajiks, but other ethnic groups as well. It is about trying to forge unity in a polarized country, he says. One of the divisive factors, Karzai's peace overtures to the Taliban, which Saleh described as a recipe for war.
And if they win through the script of democracy, they should be given a space to govern. But we should not make a deal. The deal is dangerous and it will lead us to another civil strife.
The fear here is the Afghan government is desperate to strike any deal with the Taliban and other groups, and they are doing so behind closed doors. Saleh wouldn't be more specific about the alleged deals, but said many Afghans are worried.
My message to President Karzai is very simple. The absolute majority of Afghans want a strong state. You have heard his speeches. When there are blasts in Afghanistan, civilians are killed. He does not attribute it to people who claim we have done it.
This is one of Amrullah Saleh's support base, the Panjshir Valley, the hometown and stronghold of Ahmad Shah Massoud, the assassinated leader of the Northern Alliance, the Tajik force that fought the Taliban. Amrullah Saleh was his close aide.
It's still not clear how much support Saleh has and whether it does come from across the ethnic divide, but he is optimistic.
So we will not remain grassroots forever. This is one day going to be a national level political movement.
National movement, that may be difficult. Ethnic groups vie for political power, which in the past has led to bloody conflicts. But Saleh says that is his goal, because there are 2 paths. Afghanistan could either become further polarized or united. Zaina Hoda, AlJazeera, Panjshir Valley.
Australia calls itself a multicultural society. The big debate, though, is underway over the integration of Muslims, and some think anti-Muslim feelings are being exploited by politicians. Andrew Thomas has the story from Sydney.
Is there a strand of Islamophobia running through Australian society? And if there is, should politicians be exploiting it? Say no to burqas, says this mural in a central suburb of Sydney. Multiculturalism isn't working, believes the man who painted it. Immigrants to Australia should integrate more, leaving alien customs at the door. Others round here say the mural is simply racist. Since it appeared in September, it's been vandalised and had to be repainted more than 40 times. But there's no doubt it taps into something. And over the last few days, the sentiments it expresses have spilled over into national debate. On the day of the funerals of some of those who died in the Christmas Island asylum boat sinking, the immigration spokesman of the centre-right opposition party questioned why taxpayers were paying for surviving relatives to attend.
Any other Australian who wanted to attend a funeral for someone who died in tragic circumstances would have to put their hand in their own pocket.
A day later, The same politician was reported to be encouraging colleagues to exploit anti-Muslim sentiment for political gain. The Labour government called for him to be sacked. Some opposition colleagues were critical, but the party leader backed his man, and others went further. Islam, said one, is the problem. After an absence of the word for many years, the governing Labour Party this week reaffirmed its commitment to multiculturalism. Support for that on the Sunday morning talk shows.
We think it's excellent that the M word is back in the Australian political narrative.
We're a multicultural community, we're a multicultural society, and that's what makes Australia great.
But it's away from the studio sofas in the community where anti-Islamic comments have the biggest effect.
Past experience shows that when these comments are made, that there is a reaction from people, and it's a negative reaction.
Australia is an immigrant nation. 44% of people were either born abroad or have at least one parent who was. There are opposing views, though, on how best to hold all those in the country together. Andrew Thomas, Al Jazeera, Sydney.
Got the sport coming up with Farah in just a moment. Got the latest from the Cricket World Cup. Find out how co-host Sri Lanka did in their opener against Canada. And I've got to tell you this, we've got Mourinho coming up. I know he's not cricket, he's football, but it's an extraordinary story.
In a new series of one-hour documentaries, Al Jazeera English showcases films from across the Al Jazeera network.
We are now heading in towards Palestinian waters.
Two small boats set out from Greece to challenge the siege of Gaza. A dangerous act of defiance in the face of injustice.
They're only trying to scare us.
An extraordinary act of solidarity with the Palestinian people.
Al Jazeera World at this time.
Al Jazeera, an unreported world.
This is the plight of Indonesia's street children. These children don't qualify for identity papers.
Some scientists believe the sea rise will be gradual, that Egypt will have time to adapt. But if the delta is dying, it's the poor people who will pay the highest price.
This is the biggest news in China over the past week, that a Nobel Peace Prize was awarded to a Chinese. And this is the reaction of the government.
Information travels in many ways. Opinions constantly formed. Knowledge passes in an instant.
If you want to communicate with those shaping the headlines, this is your chance to ask questions directly to the people making the news. Riz Khan, at this time on Al Jazeera.
Going to chat about Mourinho later, I hope, but it's cricket first, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. Let's start with the latest from the Cricket World Cup, where the co-host Sri Lanka easily won their opening match against Canada.